There's just one place to get our lowest payment on the new 2025 Acura RDX, $399 a month. It's the Season of Performance event at Acura of Pembroke Pines, #1 in the USA.
If you're looking to take your home or business to the next level, then RM Contractors and Custom Drywall can assist you. RM specializes in new residential turnkey, new commercial turnkey, home and office remodeling. Call them for free estimates. Serving all of South Florida, licensed and insured. Call Ray or Mike, 305-345-3649. You work hard to create the perfect atmosphere. You dream it, we'll build it. RM Contractors and Custom Drywall, 305-345-3649 or Instagram at RMC Fisher Island.
Hi, this is Jeff Welt from Welt and Rayom. Dan and I have been in business together for over 22 years. We're not your typical lawyers. When Dan's not working in the office, he's flying his stunt plane. When I'm not in the office, I'm either getting tattooed, bowling, riding a motorcycle, or going to concerts. We might not be your typical attorneys, but we are aggressive attorneys, and we'll do whatever it takes to get you what you deserve. Consultations are always free. Call us anytime, 24/7.
Welt and Rayom can help.
It is the Squared Circle Digest. I'm Sean Stanley. Frankie Fresco usually with me. He is on the injured list. No, he's under the weather, but he will be back. There is no Squared Circle Digest without Frankie Fresco. It is our baby, so get well, and he'll be back here next week. But again, the new schedule will be, there will be a live Raw breakdown after Raw, a live breakdown after Dynamite, a live breakdown after SmackDown. NXT will go up recorded. And, of course, the Squared Circle Digest will be here weeknights, Tuesdays at 7. And when the NASCAR season kicks off, there will be shows on Friday and Monday talking NASCAR. And, of course, Sports Talk will come on Thursday. So a lot coming to the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. New year, new me. It's time to kick some ass and time to take some names. So let's discuss what happened last night. It was the Raw on Netflix debut. And, of course, appreciate everybody in the chat already. Fins TV, no doubt. Steven Gonzalez was in first. Dad in, what is up? So we will discuss a lot of the things going on. The first thing, as I said, will be the WWE on Netflix. And I want to ask you guys, and throw it in the chat. Let me know what you guys think. What you thought of the Netflix. Again, I did a recap last night. This is just going to touch on a couple things. To me, this is what WWE excels at, right? It's the 100th episode, the 1000th episode, the Legends Night, the debuts on networks, the season premieres. They bring in all the heavy hitters. And last night was no different. I mean, it opens up with the curtain over the ring, and you see, the cold promo that WWE had already cut out and sent out on their social medias throughout the day. It's playing, it's Triple H narrating. Fireworks go off, the curtain drops, bam, there's Triple H right there in the ring. Again, it's the big feel, it's the production. That aspect of it, WWE gets it on the entertaining side. They understand making it feel bigger than what it is. And as I said, last night was no different. right? Triple H is the first person you see. He says, hey, let the Netflix era begin. Who's the second person you see? The Rock. Dwayne Johnson. I don't even know if it was The Rock that came out last night. That was kind of Dwayne Johnson, board of directors of TKO. That wasn't even The Rock. I mean, at the end, he finally said that, he was like The Rock, he did his whole Rock thing, has finally come back home or whatever the hell he did. But it's like, bro, you got in the ring and the first thing I thought was odd was, not odd, but I see The Rock coming down. I'm like, I wonder if he's going to be the final boss. I wonder what this is going to be like. And then they show him, the title belt to his daughters. And I'm going, well, you're definitely not going to get a whole lot of cursing here if his daughters are in the front row. So I was the first thing I was kind of like, it's going to be interesting. Then he gets in and he's like, I want to thank the Netflix executives, and they're up in the booth or wherever. And then he thanks Cody Rhodes, who's for some reason sitting in the front row. Not sure why, but hey, they had him out there in the front row. It's Netflix. It's WWE on Netflix. And then he thanks his cousin, Roman Reigns. And I was like, interesting. So maybe they're going to do this and it turn into something else. It did not. It was just Roman, and we're going to grab the end of. You see the end of Bloodline there on the thing, so we're going to get into the Roman and more into that. I mean, Steven Gonzalez, no doubt said the quality seemed like a step up. It did. It felt like it was in 4K, maybe even 8K. And the drone shots, man, when Jey Uso was coming out with Travis Scott, and they did the drone shot circling around. I thought they could have done the drone shot longer when Roman was sitting there on the apron when he first entered. They're looking their backs to the hard camera. The drone was circling around. Felt like they could have left that there a little bit longer, but there was so many good little camera angles. The very up close when Rollins and Punk started, a lot of different camera angles. The only thing also I do not like is that we don't get the action during the commercials. The international side does, whoever has Netflix internationally. So they were sharing, like The Miz did an interview during it. New Day did an interview during it. And it will be, I guess that's what it's going to be going forward. And now I want to get to what Steven Gonzalez said. He says, I have to admit, it was pretty cool. It felt like a pay-per-view. They make this a weekly thing. It will be awesome. See, that's where I think, I don't know that they can do this every week. Me and Frankie, when we first started talking about this, I thought they should run it kind of like at the beginning of TNA, what TNA did was they had no TV. So what they did was they charged $9.99 and they ran a weekly pay-per-view. And then they kind of, they did a couple things that would set up for the following week and things like that. So I'm wondering if WWE could do something where you got a 3-hour SmackDown, which Triple H did say it would go back down to 2 hours later on. It's not going to stay at 3. And then you have NXT. Can they do storylines to where when you get to Netflix, the Monday on Netflix, you can have a PLE-ish style card? Because that card last night, I mean, I'm looking at next week's card already, okay? It's got Damian Priest against Finn Balor. It's got Chad Gable against debuting Penta. I'm guessing it's Penta because he said get the best luchador you can and everything else. And it's going to be interesting to see, is there going to be a drop-off? They can't do these kind of cards every week and then still get to a pay-per-view. You got the Royal Rumble, January 31st. 2 people have now entered. John Cena did it during the program. CM Punk did it after the program. So those 2 have already entered into the Royal Rumble. And looking at the celebrities, and again, I probably missed some here, but I wrote down, you had Vanessa Hutchinson. You had, I can't think of her name. I just know her as Topanga. You had Wale. You had Travis Scott. You had Macaulay Culkin. You had Fluffy. You had Michelle McCool, Nikki Bella, They showed, other superstars. Tiffany Stratton got a tremendous response. Stephen Amell was there in the crowd. It was just, and I know Kay Adams was there. She was saying it was her first wrestling event. I know everybody was trying to find out if she had a good time. She talked about it this morning on her show with AJ Francis. If you get a chance, check that out. But it had a big time feel to it. I just don't know that they can do this every week. And again, I believe now, after thinking about it and watching it, I believe they chose the Intuit Dome just because of, again, it is state-of-the-art facility. It was built in with all of these, bells and whistles. It's a perfect spot. I don't know that they can do, as much as they did at every other venue. It's going to be interesting to see how the Raw, setup changes depending on the venue that they're at. But overall, man, I thought they knocked it out of the park. But again, to me, it's like when you talk about AEW and pay-per-views, they always knock them out of the park. To me, anytime there's a debut, or an anniversary show, a legend show, they always knock it out of the park, man. They always knock it out of the park. The one thing that was not knocked out of the park last night, which was the entrance of Hulk Hogan. My goodness, did they let Mr. Hogan have it? Or if you watch Pat McAfee's show, they let Jimmy Hart have it. I'm not sure, again, WWE reached an agreement with Real American Beer for a multi-year sponsorship. And we'll see where it goes, man. But, and I know a lot of people were on there like talking about it being, his politics. And I don't believe it was the politics, man. I believe it's all the, the racial comments, everything else that has happened as Terry Bollea. Not the Hogan character, but Terry Bollea, the person. It's not good, man. It's not good. But here's the thing is Steven, I looked at it and I was like, okay, two guys are responsible for bringing WWE mainstream. Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon. And both, in their own ways, have self-sabotaged their being in the industry. Of course, you know what Vince McMahon did. And then Hogan has, constantly, put out the racial comments. And again, everybody was like, oh, it's LA, it's a political thing. No, it's not. I don't believe all of it was a political thing. Let me say that. Because I'm sure there were some people there that politically. But you have to remember one thing too. The Undertaker was on right before him. The Undertaker endorsed Trump. The Undertaker did all of that, went on the trail for Trump. He didn't get booed. He didn't get that response. But Hogan did. And if you saw some of the fans that were recording the reactions throughout the crowd, you can see that it was more than just being politics. That's kind of where I stand on that with the Hogan thing. It's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward with Hogan. Again, it's like, when you look at it, it's like, Hulk Hogan, the performer, is one thing, but Terry Bollea, the person, when you look at what Vince McMahon has done and now Hogan, it's just the two guys that really made wrestling mainstream, pop culture-ish, have self-sabotaged themselves almost out of the industry. I'm very interested to see what, and I thought it was interesting that Pat McAfee did the skit that he did today on the show. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with this whole thing, but they have a multi-year deal with Hogan. and his beer company to be the official beer of Raw on Netflix. So it's not the whole thing, as far as that goes. No doubt I have missed Hogan and racist comments. Well, it was a while ago. He was recorded by it's the whole thing with Bubba the Love Sponge. And then he got, the tape got out there, and then, there were some wrestlers that thought he was going to come in. WWE supposedly brought him back, and they thought they were going to kind of get an apology or, a thing. And all he said was, just be careful, protect yourself. People will record you. And he just never really took accountability. My understanding of everything. Again, I'm not there. I'm not a fly on the wall. Just the stories and certain things I've heard was that, his accountability for what was said was never really just accepted, I guess, as far as what that was going on there. And then you got what you got last night, and I don't know if that was supposed to be longer than what it was, but it definitely felt like it was cut a little bit short with everything that was going on with that. Felt bad for Jimmy Hart, just the situation that he was put into, sitting there trying, wave the American flag, and you're just getting boos rain down on you. But there were some cheers too. Don't get me all wrong, but it was definitely more and more boos than cheers for Hulk Hogan. But I think it was more boos for Terry Bollea, not Hulk Hogan, if that makes sense. If you understand the wrestling end of it. Last night we did see the tribal combat match, and the question I have is now, okay, Roman wins the match. Is this the end of the bloodline angle? Does it stop there? And real quick before I jump over to there, Stephen Gunn said, at the end of the day, wrestling is wrestling, politics are politics. The guy's a legend. He's a legend in the ring. Yes, he is a legend in the ring. Yes. It's one of those things, man. I mean, again, we're in an era now to where it is so difficult because the whole thing came up too today, and I saw this video and it kind of came up, and I'll get to the bloodline thing here in a minute, but it was CM Punk before he left WWE the first time. They were at an event, and it was like a Comic-Con or something like that, and there was I want to say it was Sheamus, CM Punk, and I believe it was Zack Ryder at the time, or Matt Cardona. And somebody asked, why is WWE trying to, get rid of Chris Benoit? And CM Punk answered it and was like, CM Punk the performer, Chris Benoit the performer, with what happened and the situation that happened, it's not smart of us to promote Chris Benoit. And again, remember, at the time, though, they were actually putting a dot over his face, blurring his character, the whole Chris Benoit body out, everything. Like they were trying to really take it away. And so it becomes hard when you get into the personal side of the thing. But again, I look at it and I say that this is more than just politics, because there's a lot of people that endorsed Trump that did not get booed, including Triple H, including Stephanie McMahon, including The Undertaker, and including others that were there that have been on the side of Trump. I mean, Stephanie McMahon's mom is on the cabinet, or was on the cabinet. I think she got another seat with Donald Trump in his presidency. You know what I'm saying? And they weren't getting the boos that they got. That's what I'm saying. I believe this was more of the incident before than the political thing. You know, so it's take it for what it is. I have no, you know, I know O says all the time, I have no insight in this, all things. But when you look at everything the way it went down last night, cheapest ticket was probably, yeah. I would say for that venue and that ticket on Netflix, yes. That was probably about $400 a ticket, if and that's probably sitting in nosebleeds. And again, they marked those tickets up. But again, if you looked at, you know, I mean, ticket prices are crazy now for wrestling events. Whether you're AEW, WWE, you know, you almost have to go to more of the local shows to get prices that I can afford. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. You know, I mean, those tickets are, dude. I mean, I can only imagine with the celebrities that were on hand there. They did a red carpet. They have all this stuff going on. I guarantee you it was at least $400, if not more, to get in that building. And that's sitting at the top probably. And maybe you got a shot of the drone, you know. Yeah, that's where I was going to go with the end of the bloodline thing. The interesting thing here is this. You had The Rock come out at the beginning and he did the Dwayne Johnson board of directors, gave you a little bit of The Rock. And I was just like, okay, all right. You know, I was on the bandwagon with Josh and Steven Gonzalez. I was like, okay, we get the board of directors kiss ass type thing here. And then he goes full heel when the match happens. And I did not expect that match to be first, but after thinking about it, that's another accolade for Roman Reigns, right? He's the first official match on Netflix was Roman Reigns versus, you know, Solo Sikoa in the tribal combat. And ultimately, you know, you had all your run-ins. You had your Jacob Fatu's, Tama Tonga, Sami Zayn, Jimmy Uso. They all get involved. Roman finally ends up winning it with the spears. And the interesting thing was, and again, I go back to camera angles with the stuff last night. And I apologize if you hear my little dog going crazy. So last night, I don't know if you saw this, and if you have a chance, please go back and check it out. Because I thought, and again, I don't know if this was planned or if it just happened because the way it was. Paul Heyman is on his knees with the Ulafala, right? Then Roman is on his knees. And there's a space in between them, and the camera scanned back, and you can see the entranceway. And as you see the entranceway, you start seeing The Rock heading to the ring. As he's like almost, as Paul Heyman's about to present the Olafala, I think I call it the Olafala, to Roman, The Rock starts coming. No music, nothing. You start hearing little rumblings. You can see him getting, you know, bigger. And then they finally go to him with the camera angle as he gets up and into the ring. And then he, you know, gets the Olafala from Paul Heyman. And again, I thought I'm sitting here the whole time, wait, like, okay, here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. He's going to put it on his neck, pull him in, give him the rock bottom, you know, and again, no doubt, I'm not saying that view was not planned. I don't know. It's just the way it happened was just, I thought it was cinematic in a way because no music, nothing like that. He just started walking down. So then he puts the Olafala on, you know, Roman, and they do the handshake. And then they embrace, and he's telling him, I love you, I love you. And I'm sitting here like, okay, let's go. Here we go. Here we go. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, right? They've got to set this up right here. They got to do something. And then The Rock gives him the ring. He goes into the corner, and he kind of just stands there. And if you watch every once in a while on the camera angle, they go to The Rock. And again, probably reading into this because of, you know, the way I watch wrestling, a little bit different. And of course, Paul Heyman, by the way, also does the perfect, he knows exactly where to get for the camera shots to where it's Rock, Roman, and then you can see Paul Heyman on the side just kind of looking at him, nodding and this and that. But if you watch The Rock's face, he's got a grin. He's got this smirk on his face. And I don't know if it was just one of like, damn, look at this. Our legacy. We're here on Netflix. He's in the middle of the ring controlling this. It's our family legacy. I can't tell if it's a smirk of like, pride, or if he's just like, it's for the shot to be like, that's the moment. Later on down the road, he turns on Roman Reigns and they show that and he's like, that's the moment I knew I had you where I wanted you. Because to me right now, you can't run back Solo. You might be able to throw Jacob Fatu in there now. And it's interesting because The Rock will be on NXT tonight. And they still haven't debuted Hikuleo. And also now you have Lance Anoa'i down in the NXT. Is The Rock going there to bring a third version of the bloodline together? Is he scouting? Is he putting together a new bloodline? Is he going there to see his daughter, the GM Ava? It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. And then now, look, Solo's no longer the tribal chief. And Steven says, I'm guessing Fatu will join. I thought The Rock was pulling the strings with Solo and them the whole time. That was the way I envisioned the story. Is at the end of the thing, you're going to see that Solo was just really The Rock's puppet, doing his work for him while he wasn't there. And they didn't show that last night. So I don't know. And again, doesn't mean that they showed everything. It's still got a long way to go. But I did notice The Rock had the smirk. And it did get me thinking that, will we get The Rock versus Roman? And and Roman was asked about it afterwards, and he says, hey, that's for the internet to decide. We'll see. So it's going to be very interesting to see what we get and where it leads, because looking at it last night, to me, it felt like they kind of just said, okay, you beat Solo clean. You never saw Jacob Fatu or Tama Tonga. Again, you never saw Jimmy. So we'll see where it goes from there. Again, long way to go. Long way to go. A lot of story to be out there still. But last night felt like a little bit of closure. And so it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. Because, again, Jacob Fatu's an animal. And now does he listen to Solo if Solo is no longer the tribal chief? Because remember, it's always, I love you, Solo. Solo, you are my tribal chief. That was what it was all about. Solo's not tribal chief anymore. What does that mean for Jacob Fatu? Tama Tonga. We still haven't seen Hikuleo. We still haven't seen Lance Anoa'i. We still haven't seen Zilla, who is now going to fight Booker T at Booker T's federation. So I got to believe that might be a kind of a match to see where he's at, to see if he's coming up soon as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this story plays out, because last night I felt like they kind of, with the way The Rock was, he was more corporate Rock last night. And then you saw the behind the scenes, he's shaking hands with, Triple H. He's hugging Drew McIntyre. He's hugging Cody. They're having a drink. It was just a lot of, what the hell is going on here? In a way, and again, to each their own. Maybe this is just a seed that they're planting so that The Rock, or they know The Rock isn't going to be here for this WrestleMania, so let's put it on ice. Let's build it back up when we're going to be able to run it. So we'll see what happens there. I felt like they did something similar with Rhea, Liv, Dom, New Year, new champ. Liv had rest of the year, but time for Rhea to reign again. Yeah, no doubt. I agree with that. I believe it. Liv did everything she could with the title. There was nothing else to do except put the title back on Rhea. And then if you want to run it back again and you do something else somehow, I don't know what different you would do, but you couldn't have Rhea lose again. Like you can only do that so many times to where it's like, okay. And I thought they told a very good story. I know a lot of people were upset that Liv lost the belt, but I felt like, look, man, I think she's elevated herself enough, like what Damian Priest did, whereas I don't think she needs that belt as much as when she first won it. I believe she needed the belt then because the belt was going to make her. But I believe as she felt more comfortable as the champion, she is now on her own fine. She doesn't need to have the title per se. Now, the interesting thing is, what happens with Dom? What happens with Dom and Liv? Do they break that apart? Do they keep it together? Do they break the Judgment Day? I feel like has been like going to break up for like 2 years now, and somehow they're still together. So it'll be very interesting to see how that ends out. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but it was announced also that the Royal Rumble in 2026 going to Saudi Arabia. And my only question I have here is, like, are you going to go to Saudi Arabia to watch the Royal Rumble? I know there were some comments made by some of your top stars. I know some have been walked back. I know Sami Zayn's gone over there, but CM Punk said, again, he was with the other company, but he said it was blood money. It's a very interesting thing. I understood the Crown Jewel, pay-per-views, they pay you $55 million or whatever it was $550 million. And you go over there for a show or 2 shows a year. But to take one of your premium live events, and not even like, this is a Royal Rumble. This is the match that leads to WrestleMania, basically. You're going to get your main events from WrestleMania. And you're doing it, in Saudi Arabia. I'm not saying you don't have to do it internationally. I just feel like that's not a spot necessarily that is a tourist hotspot. I mean, I know Riyadh has got, people want to go there and this and that, but I was trying to look it up and, there's not like strict dress code for women, but you have to wear, over your shoulders, below your knees. So there's some of a thing. And I was trying to find out if it was like a tourist, if tourists could wear, but they said, in certain areas, it's very strict as far as what the guideline is there. So it's going to be very interesting to see, what happens with that. Again, it's in 2026. This Royal Rumble will be at Indianapolis. So we'll see how it rolls out. I just found it interesting that you're sending a Royal Rumble to Saudi. And again, the interesting thing is, it'll probably sell out with just the Riyadh fans. That's the thing. It's like they don't need the tourists to go over there, really. When you do the Crown Jewels, those crowds, you see the crowds, they're massive. People aren't traveling over there, so I don't know that they need to have anybody travel over there. And no doubt says Royal Rumble in Riyadh is fine. If WrestleMania leaves our shores, then I'll lose my mind. I have a feeling you're going to get an international WrestleMania probably within the next 2 or 3 years. I know this one's in Vegas, and you'll probably get one more here, but I got to believe that they're going to try to do, or you know what they ought to do? And again, I don't know about logistics here, but why couldn't you do one at a location in the U.S. and night 2 or night 1 at a location internationally? So night 1 would be done in Miami, Florida. Night 2 in, Barcelona, Spain. I think you'd be better off doing something like that. It'd be definitely harder logistically. for WWE and the performers and everything else, and whatever they'd have to do to make sure that, you know, the way WrestleManias go off and all the pageantry and everything else, you'd have to make sure that all the sets were, you know, set up and ready to go. But I think you're going to ultimately see a WrestleMania at some point probably go internationally. I just think that you're going to see it because the international fans, and again, I believe this is what WWE has conditioned the U.S. fans to do, because WWE has conditioned their fans, you know, the way they are. When you go to the international pay-per-views, it's a lot livelier crowd. And the same thing happens at WrestleMania, and the same thing happens the night after WrestleMania. It's a different feel from a crowd than what you normally have, because WWE has conditioned their crowds, the WWE universe, to what they are. Think about it last night. 4 matches in 3 hours. 4 matches in 3 hours. You've got one side of the aisle saying, there's no wrestling. This is crazy. This is no way. And then you have the other side of the crowd who understands, or, you know, has been conditioned to what the WWE style is, saying, this is fantastic. This was great. And that's where, you know, you get so much of, you know, it's starting to become the almost, you know, tribal in a way, man. You got your AEW, because again, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on X, that's where all the wrestling fans are, but it's really pretty much divided up. You have like the AEW side, pretty much, you know, and WWE can do no right. But then you have the WWE side who AEW can do no right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm an oddity. I like both. I think AEW has gotten better. And we'll discuss a little bit more of that. Now, is it perfect? No, but is WWE perfect? No, they got their nights like this where everything seems to be perfect. But now let's see how it stays, how it keeps going. Because another thing with Netflix, there's no time. They can do a 2-hour show one week, a 3-hour show the next week, a 3.5-hour show one week. There's not a set time. I think it's got to be 2 hours. So I think it does have to be 2 hours. But after that, you might get a 2-hour and 15-minute show. I don't think you'll get 3 hours. Last night it was supposed to be 3.5 hours. Then they trimmed it down to 3 hours. So, again, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out with their fans being in Saudi Arabia. Again, it's in 2026. Yeah, no, it'll be one of those things where, you know, you talk about it when it gets closer, probably more than anything. But I did find it interesting that that message gets sent out the same night that you're doing the Raw on Netflix, to where it kind of, you know, but again, they did play it on the Netflix as well. So it wasn't like it got buried, but in a way it did, because the Netflix on Raw overshadowed it when they played it. It wasn't something that I think everybody, you know, necessarily picked up on because of all the pageantry that was going on with the Raw on Netflix. Some miscellaneous WWE notes. Jade Cargill was seen training, I believe, again in the Performance Center. So that is very interesting and very good, because, again, there's different rumors and things about she had a real-life legit injury. Hopefully that's behind her, if she is actually training and working out and everything there, or whatever it was. I don't even know if it was an injury, if it was a illness, whatever it was. It's good to see her back. Nikki Bella was seen last night on the Raw on Netflix. She did a IG where she said she might be scouting some of her competition. She did get her divorce. So will she be making a comeback to the WWE? It's very interesting last night. You know, you kind of got the Evolution feel again with Stephanie McMahon there, Nikki Bella. You had Michelle McCool. You saw Tiffany Stratton. You had Rhea versus Liv. Could they have put more women on last night? Possibly. But there was supposed to be one more woman on the show last night. The man Becky Lynch was supposed to return last night, but at the last minute they pulled her off. Why? To put the American Badass, The Undertaker, on. Looked like Becky Lynch was going to get involved in the Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley match, but now that is put on ice for, I believe, a week. And I believe it was a right decision. Because, look, you had The Rock come back. You had John Cena come back. You had the announcement that Logan Paul now is Raw. Yay! Shit. I was hoping he was gone. You had all that going on. You had the Roman. You had so much going on. I believe the Becky return might have kind of gotten, pushed under a little bit more than what it deserves. I think you do it next week or the week after, and it stands on its own a little bit more. So that's, I think that is a cool thing there. Penta, as I said, Chad Gable told Adam Pearce to find the best luchador he's got available and make sure he's there next week. So I think we will get Penta next week as well. And we'll be very interesting. We got a 3-hour SmackDown here. Now who stays on SmackDown? Who goes back and forth to Raw? Again, they're doing this whole thing where you can be on Raw and SmackDown. You can be on NXT. All the rosters, you can show up kind of anywhere right now. It'll be very interesting to see when and if they lock down rosters again, because I think it makes the Raw on Netflix that much better if you could possibly get an NXT matchup, SmackDown matchups. You got some Raw matchups. I think it'll look a lot more different, and it'll give you more of the PLE-ish, premium live event, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, feel for each and every card. If you got anything else on the WWE, go ahead and get it in now. I'm going to be switching over to the AEW side here in a minute. Let's see what else I missed. Keeping secret appearances a secret with travel abroad may be more difficult. But see, no doubt, I don't know if it'll be more difficult if you could use the private jets. I think, I don't know. Again, I mean, I know if you want to sit there and track, every flight and who's on it, and there's ways to get for everything, but you're definitely not going to be flying over there with the crew. So it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, you're right. It would make it a little bit more difficult. Hard to not imagine Cody on Netflix. Man, if you do, then Gunther goes to SmackDown because Gunther's got the SmackDown title. And John Cena returned, by the way. I forgot to mention this, and he did say he was entering the Royal Rumble. He is on the farewell tour, so it's going to be interesting to see what's next for him. It looks like he said his next appearance is in Indianapolis, so that means he's not going to be back until the Royal Rumble. So I guess he's still part-time in a way. So we'll see where that goes. And then also when you get to the Royal Rumble, you still got Roman. CM Punk is in. John Cena's in so far. You're going to have Drew. You're going to have, it's going to be a pretty stacked WrestleMania card this year, but it's going to be a stacked Royal Rumble to see who gets there. And then also, how's it penciled in? Is the winner going to challenge Cody? The winner going to challenge Gunther? Right now, to me, it's a mess. They really messed me up last night with the way The Rock handled everything last night. It kind of has put a wrinkle in what I thought. I thought this was going to start, not necessarily like The Rock was going to turn and beat up everybody and this and that, but at least it would be WWE loves to plant seeds, little things here and there. And that's why, again, I look at it and I say the smirk. Is the smirk going to mean something? Because everything else seemed like it was just corporate Rock. He's got his Terramana tequila. He's toasting everybody. He's got Drew McIntyre cursing all over because they're on Netflix now. You've got him toasting with Cody. It just, I don't know where it's going from here, man. I really don't. I really don't. He's hugging Roman. It's going to be interesting to see how this leads up to WrestleMania. And also with CM Punk beating Seth Rollins the way he did, pretty damn clean. The last image you see of Raw on Netflix is CM Punk standing victorious. You know, and then they do cut the thing, and kudos to him, you know, with the shout out to Chris Bay and some others. And so, but where does CM Punk figure into all this? I got to believe at WrestleMania, remember, he told Paul Heyman what? If I do this for you, I got one favor. And his favor is he wants to main event WrestleMania. So how does that play into all this? There's going to be a lot of, you know, Y's in the road to where you're going to have to go left or right and figure out where each one's going to lead to. So Raw, SmackDown, NXT, it's going to get very interesting here in the next coming months leading up to, again, don't forget, WrestleMania is later this year. It's like April 15th, 16th in Vegas, or 19th and 20th. So remind me, did Solo say he would acknowledge Roman if he lost? You know what? I don't think he did. I think he did say, though, that when he wins, he will make Roman acknowledge him. When he told Paul Heyman on SmackDown that he wanted him to carry the Olafala, and that when it's done and he presents the Olafala to Solo, he would make sure that Roman acknowledged him. So I gotta believe there's gonna be that done probably on SmackDown. They probably will have, you know, make Solo go to do the acknowledgement, and then I wonder, does that set up for something else? Because there's no way to me that Solo's just gonna sit there and be like, I acknowledge you, Roman, you're better than me. Not with everything that's gone on and that has been going on. I can't believe that is the end of that angle if that's what's been going on for 4 years now. Like, it's going to be very interesting. All right, we're going to switch over to AEW here now. The World's End pay-per-view was on December 28th. It was from Orlando, Florida. It was from UCF, the stadium there. And, man, let me tell you something. It was a good pay-per-view, man. And again, that's where I said, like, WWE always delivers on, you know, the Legends episodes, the anniversary episodes, the debuts, and AEW delivers on the pay-per-views. That's the one thing that I say. And also, to me, since the Revolution pay-per-view, I feel like there's been a switch in a lot of what has been going on. And again, same as with WWE. Is everything perfect? No, but there's questions, but at least there's questions to angles that are going on. Not everything as far as you know, one more thing too on. I wanted to do one more thing. I've always said with AEW, they don't really appeal to the casual fan. It's kind of like you either like AEW or you don't. And when you get in, you have to almost have an understanding of the product. I thought last night Michael Cole did a great job of mixing in history of certain superstars with their current angles and giving that, you know, the casual wrestling fan that experience on Raw. And that's what I think too that WWE does a little bit better to me than what AEW does is, again, they cater to the casual wrestling fans. There was a lot of wrestling fans last night that were probably tuning into Raw live for the first time. Being on Netflix opens it up to millions upon millions of people. Not saying millions upon millions all watched it. But again, some people might have tuned in for the first time in a long time, the first time ever. And I thought that they reintroduced the product very well, mixing in history, current, and storylines easily for casuals to pick up on, you know, everything that was going on. So again, that's the one thing too where I feel like, again, I feel like AEW has done a lot better job here recently, as I said, especially once the Evolution pay-per-view kicked up. It hit a little bit of a lull, but now it has picked up a little bit of steam. The World's End pay-per-view, they did the Continental Classic. Ospreay and Fletcher had another great showing. Again, those guys have such good chemistry. Again, they've been friends. They've, traveled. Not that they're still friends. They've been friends. Traveled the world together, and you can see that they have the trust in each other, and the trust to just go all out against each other, and it showed. Ospreay, I don't know if he cut his head on what he did, but it looked like he was gushing blood all over the place. But he ends up winning, defeating Fletcher, and then going on to take on Okada, who beat Ricochet. And then Okada, of course, the tournament king, wins and remains the Continental Classic champion. So Okada is he's known as the best tournament wrestler in the world, and he proved that again at World's End. You had the MJF Adam Cole saga, I think, hopefully finally come to an end. MJF gets the win, but Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly leave MJF laying in the ring. They kind of get back the Undisputed Kingdom together, and I thought that was, again, the injuries made it a lot longer than what it needed to be, and I think it also threw a wrench in the plans. I would be very interested to see if they were able to carry out, and Adam Cole was healthy, and the setbacks and everything else set that back a lot longer than it needed to be. So we'll see where that leads to for Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom going forward. Mercedes Moné took on Chris Statlander. Again, they tore the house down. Mercedes Moné, the last few pay-per-views, I don't know if she's just finding her feel or what, but she's looking a lot better to me, more comfortable in the ring than she had looking. Maybe it was a trust thing. She didn't let it go, with some of the other, with Britt Baker. I thought the Britt Baker thing was kind of clumsy in a way. It was a good match, but it wasn't like blow me away. But then her matches with Statlander have been great. And then Mina Shirakawa, she also wrestled at Wrestle Dynasty, which we'll talk a little bit about here in a minute. But that one was good. You had Mariah May and Thunder Rosa. That was a very good match. Takeshita and Hobbs. Hobbs came up a little bit short. Takeshita is on a roll. He's now signed to 3 federations, 2 in Japan, I believe, New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling, and AEW. He's on a 3-way deal with all of them. And you also had the return at the end. You had the 4-way match, which was Hangman Adam Page, Jay White, Orange Cassidy, and Moxley. And I didn't feel that, look, it was a good match, but I felt like it was just to get to the ending, which was FTR, or actually rated FTR, because Adam Copeland returns and goes after the Death Riders, which of course is Moxley, Claudio, Yuta, Pac, Marina Shafir. But Pac is at home, so I don't know where I don't know where he stands on this. I don't know if he's doing the thing where he goes home for 2 weeks, comes back here for a couple of weeks that Ospreay was doing. I don't know what the deal is there with that, so we'll see if he comes back and returns to the Death Riders. But what I want to talk about with the Death Riders angle is this. I don't understand the whole part of Moxley's trying to take out AEW, okay? Then you got these 3 fighting. Orange Cassidy's, of course, the heart and soul of AEW. So he's fighting for the title. Hangman Adam Page fighting for the title. Jay White fighting for the title. And it felt like all of them were playing second fiddle to the return of Adam Copeland in that match, in a pay-per-view match. It was a very good match, but it just felt like everything was getting done to get to the return. And again, it's one of those things to where I don't know where they're going with this angle. It's like it started hot. You had Darby crashing cars at the end of pay-per-views. You had, it started hot as hell. And now, to me, it's cooling down a little bit. You brought back Adam Copeland, returns, and he changed his name, and people were in an uproar. He's now Cope. He's not Adam Copeland. He's not... They're like, why isn't he Adam Copeland? Well, you have Adam Page. You have Adam Cole, Adam Copeland. He's Cope. Let the man be what he wants to be. And at the Fight for Fallen, rated FTR beats the Death Riders. And a rightfully so thing in Asheville, North Carolina, who was hit very hard by the Hurricanes. And kudos to Tony Khan, kudos to FTR, kudos to Cope, kudos to all of the AEW superstars that were there. They treated the first responders to the show. They had it all planned out for them. I love those types of shows. I love the tribute to the troops when they used to do those. I love those styles where we say thank you to the ones who deserve it. And I thought they did a great job. And it was odd to me to hear everybody complaining about a name, Cope. Well, he just called himself the Rated R Superstar. The Cope thing, it is what it is. It's like Shane Helms became the Hurricane because you had Shane McMahon, and Vince didn't want two Shanes. So he became the Hurricane. Probably one of the best things that happened to him. And now you want to have 3 Adams. Let the man enjoy his time, man. But now with the Death Riders angle, you've had Rated FTR kind of in there now. I'm guessing Cope is going to be involved in the title hunt. You still have Christian involved in the title hunt. And it's going to be interesting to see where the hell this all ends. Because again, to me, I thought somebody was pulling the strings of Moxley. Like somebody was, they put the title in a briefcase like they were going to present it to somebody. So I thought there was somebody above, like it was going to be this announcement. And again, fantasy booking, I was hoping it would be, they go back to this room and they hand the briefcase to, and who is it? Shane McMahon. But at this point, man, I still feel like Tony Khan needs to turn heel, man. Tony, do like your dad did today, man, on a call. Him and the GM and the owner are sitting there, and he goes, and they ask him if a new coach comes in and says that they want a new GM, would you get rid of Trent Baalke? Trent Baalke's on the line with them. It's like a Zoom call. And Shad Khan goes, if he can show me why and there's proof, yeah, I'll get rid of him. Tony Khan needs to take that personality and make it his own and just go and be a weasel dipshit, man. Could you imagine? And it's almost, but again, this won't happen because it's almost too close to what Vince did when he did, God, what was the thing with The Undertaker? It was me, Austin. It was me the whole time. What the hell was the name of the group? God, man, now I'm drawing a blank. I think he called himself the higher power, was Vince McMahon was the higher power. But I can't remember, was it the corporate ministry? I think it was the corporate ministry was what they were calling themselves. Like if all of this is being done and like Darby and Orange are fighting for AEW so they love AEW. They are AEW. And the owner of AEW is the one pulling the strings on the Death Riders. I think you could go into a whole nother thing. And then if you want to bring Bryan Danielson back, then you can. And then now you feud, the AEW almost against itself. That's the part that I would find interesting. And no doubt I will get to. Okay? Give me a little bit. Give me a minute. The Wrestle Dynasty card happened at the new year. Congratulations to Mercedes Moné. She picked up another title. She is now the Rev Pro in UK champion. Kenny Omega returns, and actually Kenny Omega will be on AEW Dynamite tomorrow night. And he said he's coming back for what's rightfully his. So now does he get involved in the Death Riders angle? Because he's got to fight for AEW, right? He's the EVP. Apologize. He's the EVP. The Young Bucks at Wrestle Dynasty became the IGWP Tag Team Champions. The Young Bucks are the Tag Team Champions over in Japan again. You had Ricochet come up short, fighting for the title against Zack Sabre Jr. Overall, it was a very good, entertaining card. The crowd throws me off sometimes with the Japanese shows. I still haven't got that. It's kind of like when I watch AAA every once in a while and there's no tags and everybody's just running around doing whatever they want and it gets lost to me. Whereas there's so much good stuff that happens and sometimes there's not the reaction because, again, they've conditioned the fans to, they're very respectful. They're not going to sit there and do all this stuff. It's a different style. And it's different because you don't get that, the crowd vibe necessarily into the show, I guess, in a way. So it's a different watch there. Anything AEW miscellaneous that I forgot about? Let me think about this here. Again, I said tomorrow night you're going to have, it'll be Lashley against Mark Briscoe. You've got Kenny Omega returning. They're doing a great job with this Toni Storm thing where now she's starting from scratch. She's thanking everybody in the back like she's a rookie and all this stuff. So very interesting to see where the hell that leads. And give me a minute here as I sit here and I need to get my CW on to see if The Rock does return to the CW. They got to be happy with that, by the way. Can you imagine how happy those executives were when they heard that The Rock was coming to their network? It is very interesting to see, I saw memes and it's like everybody, all these guys dancing around, being so happy about The Rock coming to their network. And also, there was about 120 tickets available still. And they sold out immediately as soon as The Rock announced he'd be at NXT. And they added a couple sections as well to the NXT setup. It is a sellout right now for NXT. Toni Storm got a little bit of a punk rock look going on now. Well, that was her original look. If you go back to her, look at Toni Storm in WWE and Toni Storm when she first got to AEW. That was her look. That was the Toni Storm look. And then she became timeless Toni Storm. And that changed everything. And now it's like she lost herself. And now she's starting from scratch like a rookie. And again, I just, she's so good, man. So good as an entertainer, so good as a wrestler, just real good, man. And before I get out of here, I do want to wish and say congratulations to the great Tiffany Stratton. On SmackDown, Tiffy time finally cashed in the Miss Money in the Bank. And also, I love the way it went down, right? It was like she comes out, you're like, oh, she's going to do it. She's going to do it. Then she grabs it and she nails Naomi with the briefcase. You're like, damn it, she's going to stay with Nia. Nia gets the pinfall. Nia goes up and celebrates, and then bam, right in the back, Tiffy, baby. Takes the briefcase, puts it into Nia's back, then gets rid of Candice LeRae. Bianca Belair comes in, grabs Nia off the top rope, hits the KOD on Nia. And of course, Tiffany Stratton at that moment slides back in the ring, gets rid of Bianca Belair, hands over the briefcase, says she wants to cash it in, waits for what felt like forever for the ring announcer, for Lillian Garcia to sit there and be like, cashing in her Money in the Bank. Tiffy time. The Rock has just arrived at NXT. I'm guessing it's The Rock because it's the same truck he left in. Apparently, The Rock just drove straight to wearing the same stuff and everything. So we'll see. You know what's funny? He shaved. He does not have the gruffle beard. Or does he? Oh, maybe he does. It was the lighting. I stand corrected. He has the gruffling thing. Amazingly, the truck at NXT, Rock pulls up, gets out right next to Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart on the truck. So Bianca Belair does the KOD. Tiffany Stratton hits the prettiest moonsault ever. And man, did that place go crazy. I'll tell you now, I got goosebumps, man, when that they hit the 3 count and she, just the emotion for her. Think about this. She hasn't even been up on the main roster for a year. And I don't believe she wasn't like, she was homegrown. She came in through, I believe, the NIL. She was one of the, what is it called? Damn it. They do the NIL with the college athletes, and they bring them in. And she took to it like everything. In less than a year, getting up to the main roster, she is now the WWE Women's Champion. And that is amazing to me. And she deserves it. She deserves it. Now the interesting thing is, because they didn't turn her face technically, because she did take out Bianca after she took out Nia. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out as well. Again, this is what I like. These are the things where it's kind of like, okay, we got to wait to see how it plays out, because there's no set. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area here to see what's going to happen. And it looks like NXT is going to start off with the Women's Championship match. Julia's on her way to the ring now, and Roxanne Perez will be the opponent. So it's going to be a great start to this. I'm going to say Julia probably will end up winning the title here from Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez has had the title forever, and she has done so much for that title. And I think this is going to be the payoff here, and maybe she'll get a call up, but she rightfully deserves this. I think this will be probably a title change here tonight. But hey, you never know. But check out later on tonight or first thing in the morning, recorded, I will have an NXT breakdown recap going up here on the Stanley Media House channel. Don't forget, every Tuesday, 7 p.m., myself, Frankie Fresco, usually will be with me doing this. We have some special guests from time to time. And even on the breakdowns, we might have some special guests from time to time. Some people that you might see here in the chat as well. Joining me on some of the other stuff. Been talking off air to some people to see where we go from here. But this is the Stanley Media House Network. This has been the Squared Circle Digest. And in the words of the great Gordon Soley, actually, you know what, real quick? Don't forget to follow me on X at Stanley Media _11 and then at Stanley Media House on all other social media platforms. And I want to thank everybody that was on today. No Doubt was in. Steven Gonzalez was in. Josh was in. Dad was in. See here who else we had. Finn's TV was in. Appreciate Sammy and everybody over there as well. In the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the Sunshine State.